Tomorrow I'm putting out a video where we went around the house with a thermal camera looking at insulation, and we found some places that need some more work. Now if that video does okay and there's enough interest in it, then I'll put out this video where over a period of weeks I'm doing some work to just improve that insulation. Now I'm going to keep the shots fairly narrow just to keep some privacy. We don't live in a show home, you know, our house is pretty well lived in, so I think we'll just keep to the subject in question. I'm going to start by improving the insulation on a panel in our kitchen, which is just above here, which you'll see in just a moment. As I always say on these videos, I'm not trained, I'm not a tradesman, it's just me, it's DIY. If you see mistakes, well, they're just mistakes, okay? I'm not teaching, I'm just sharing what I'm doing, that's all. Our kitchen has a roof, a pitched roof like that, which is open and it's high, so it goes up there. And there's a flat roof between the main part of the house and the kitchen, because the kitchen is an extension stuck on the end. So as the flat roof comes across, this is insulated with 4 inches of foam board insulation. And there's this upstand, I'm going to call it, this bit. And there's a double beam just here, which is wood, which carries the load of this roof here, which is tiled. And I put these panels on. It used to come out like this, and then there were lights behind it, but it was kind of closing all this area in. So I took it out and I put this board on. This is just hardboard here. Now when I'm doing anything like this, I just put screws in. It's tempting to nail it on, but then if you need to take it off for something, it can be a bit of a struggle. So I always screw these things on, and I know there's some cables behind here as well. But I'm just going to show you what it's like using the thermal camera, and you can see that this is cold, so I need to take these off, and then I'm going to put insulation behind it, whatever I can. Now I could just drill some holes and squirt some foam in, but I just don't remember what's there. I don't want electrical junction boxes filling with foam. Well, with the thermal camera you can see how cold that panel is. You can see a dark spot just there in the centre, and that's where a cable used to come through the wooden beam, which is no longer in use. Well, we'll get the panel off and see what we can do with it. Why did I put 10 screws in? Okay, yeah, that's the cable, so you can see why I didn't really want to just squirt foam in, but I haven't got much room to work, have I? I'll probably get insulation in there, and then I'll probably put some foam on top, and I don't know what I'm going to do here yet. I think that's okay because that's part of this. Yeah. I put this panel on about 4.5 years ago. I remember now, this cable that's going this way used to run the other side when the cooker was over there. Now the cooker's over here, so it runs this way. All the screws are out of here, so I'm trying to get it off without destroying the plasterwork. Ah, junction box. Can you see? Yes. Yeah, okay, well, that's why I didn't want to pump foam in without knowing what was here. Right, this recess here, it's less than 1 inch, so I can't use 1 inch insulation board. So I'm using 1/2 inch. Of course, today it's pouring outside. All of this has got wet. Never mind. I mean, you might say, well, is it really worth it? Where are you? Is it really worth it for just insulating this? Well, the first thing is, I couldn't remember what this was like. You definitely wouldn't pay somebody to do this. It just wouldn't be worth it, would it? You'd never get your money back. But if you can do it yourself, yes, I think it's worth it. When we look at it with the thermal camera afterwards, I haven't done that yet, so we'll have to see, but I think it's worth it. We've got some studio guests here today, haven't we? You can probably hear them in the background. Even little bits like this I'm filling in, and then the hole which goes right through those 2 beams, I'll put fiberglass or Rockwool into there. I'll push that right in there. You saw how cold that spot was, you know, it was just like a hole like that, and the wind was blowing through it, and that panel was really cold there. It's really quite surprising. So this is where we've got to. If I scan across, you can see where I've pushed fiberglass in wherever I could. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to put a bit of foam, insulating foam, on top of that Celotex. Just a bit. You've got to be careful because it expands about 40 times, so you only need a tiny squirt. This is what I'm using, insulating foam. It says it can be reused within 6 weeks. Well, if you saw me putting in those UPVC windows on another DIY video, that's got to be at least 9 months ago, and it's still working fine. You shake it up, you use it upside down like that, and you want to put the tiniest amount on for this. I hope this is going to go okay. To be honest, with that foam, I probably wouldn't have bothered if I hadn't already started with the idea. But I'm not a quitter. So we've made it work. It's actually not bad. Hello there.
Hi.
You've come right into my studio. Yeah, I am recording. You want to be famous? What are you doing to that poor pizza?
Oh.
Can you hear that rain? Oh, what have you found?
It's okay.
Well, it's all back together now, really without any mess. Let's have a look with a thermal camera. Well, there's still some deep blueness at the top of that face here that we've been working on. Perhaps I put too much trust into the roof insulation. I should have put a little bit of fiberglass in that corner. Didn't think of it at the time. But we've done our best, and I'm sure it's an improvement. Well, it's next day, and I've been thinking about this cold strip along here. I could have put insulation in, but I put too much trust into the insulation behind this, which is probably about that much or more. Perhaps they cut some of the insulation off as they put this board up. Anyway, I'm going to drill some holes, squirt in some foam, just in this little triangle that's up there. You might say, well, what's the point? It's such a small area. Well, if it makes a difference, I'll know, and if it doesn't make a difference, I won't bother with it again. I still need to be a bit careful not to get all the foam in that junction box. I know where it is. It's about there. Every day's a school day with these things. Now it expands very quickly at first, but then it keeps expanding for a bit. So you have to leave it. Now I'm hoping it's going to come out of there. So that was a little bit too much, but it wasn't bad. Now I'll leave that to go hard before I try and take that off. You can see a bit coming out here. I've filled the holes with patching plaster, and when that's dried, I'll just wipe over with a bit of filler. The patching plaster doesn't shrink as much as filler. Now let's have a look with a thermal camera, see if it's made any difference. Well, looking over there to the left, I would say that that deep blue stripe, horizontal, is much narrower than it was. So I think it has made an effect pumping that bit of foam into that triangle. In the centre we've got that funny shape coming down there. I don't think we had that before, but I think that's where I used filler made with cold water, and I'd put quite a bit of filler just there. So that's just warming up still. Would I have bothered filling that little triangle? Probably not. It's only the fact that I'd got all the gear out already and it was easy enough to do, and I learnt quite a bit from it. I'm just doing some preparatory work for my next insulation project, which concerns this room. And if you saw my earlier video, you'll see with the thermal camera we saw there's a cold spot just there because there's no insulation there in this part of this box section. Now I drilled a couple of holes to investigate and I found it was an empty void. I've just put a bit of filler over those. I need to redecorate that. And the second part of this is there's a wall between going this way and up above, and it's cold up there, and I want to have a look to see what's in this roof space. Now I'll put in a bit of video here so you can see what the roof space is like from outside, but basically it's a triangular roof coming down this way towards this side. I'm going to have to make a hole to get into it, but I'm going to take an extractor fan out just above here, I'll show you, and try and shine a torch in to see what this wall's made of above and whether it's insulated at all. I don't think it is from the thermal imager camera pictures that we had and I shared with you. I don't think it's insulated. Sorry, this is all a bit close up and personal, isn't it? But there just isn't the space to show it any other way. So there's the extractor fan. I've already taken the inside of it out. There were 3 screws. I've just popped one back in to hold it up, but if I take that out, this will drop down with the flexible pipe on it, and then we'll see if we can look in this way, up this way. So you can see the flexible pipe, far too long I would say, and it goes to a vent up in the tiled roof above. I don't know, I probably won't shorten it, too much trouble. Right, let's have a look in there. There we are. Devil of a job to get it to focus. I've got my head upside down, it's a bit awkward to speak even. But there you can see Cell-Con block. So how would I get into this piece of roof just up here? Now I don't want to make a loft hatch there. There. It's just too much work, and I'd have to insulate the loft hatch anyway, wouldn't I, and all of that. Maybe you saw on that piece of video clip I put in, there's a triangular vent. I've tried to get that vent out. They've just nailed it in all round. Nobody imagined you'd want to get that out, and it's really quite narrow anyway. I wouldn't get my hips through it. So I think I'm going to have to take some tiles off, cut through the roofing felt, take a couple of the, what do you call it, battens, laths, whatever the word is, off. Because, you know, it's not the first time I've done that. I've had to repair parts of our roof exactly that way to get into sections of the loft that I can't get into any other way. Sounds like a big deal, it's not much of a problem actually. So I think that'll be the next thing to do. So having decided not to make a loft hatch in the cloakroom ceiling, I need to explore this area of the roof above, and then having taken a few tiles off and made a hole, I'll measure up and see what I need to order by way of insulation. It's great to have some sunshine at last. It's been overcast for about a month. We're in December 2023, but of course then the sun, which is low in the sky over there, it soon gets round and into the lens of the camera. So if I just bring this LED flashing up, I hope you can see it, I should be able to hook this top tile off. There we are. So these come off as easy as anything. 1, 2, 3. Now I'll need to take a tile off either side. Where shall I put these? They're all the same anyway, they're not cut. 1, 2, 3. So literally 2 minutes and these are off. Now I need to find out where to cut the rails. So the battens are cut on the beams. Now I needn't have taken these tiles up on the left here, but I didn't know that at the time. So now we'll cut the felt and then we can look inside. Right, we're in. Now the other side of that air right block is warm because that's in the kitchen space. So that's very poor insulation not to have anything in there. And you can see the insulation on the ceiling of the cloakroom, which is probably 4 inches thick. You can see where there's a light fitting there poking through. So we'll take some measurements. You can see quite a lot now. So given the size of this and the awkwardness, I don't know if I'm going to try and put Rockwool bats against that wall, or whether I'll just stuff it full of Rockwool insulation. I guess the problem is it's got to ventilate, and if I put too much in, will it ventilate? I don't know. Oh, yes. If I turn around the other way with the camera, and move the light, yeah, that's kind of interesting. Bit of a problem here to get to. This is an open box there, inboard of the outside wall, and I can stuff fiberglass or something in there, and the next one along to my left, to your right, but I can't get over here, over there, because of that crossbeam that goes right across the corner of the roof. I don't know how I'm going to insulate that. It may be I have to take the plasterboard off from below, which I really don't want to do, or it could be I've got to fill it with foam from underneath. Don't know yet. So investigation over. We'll close this up for the time being and go away and do some thinking. I've just lifted the edges of those battens and slipped in a bit of modern breathable roofing membrane. I may do a better job when I come to do the insulation, but this will do for now. So then all remains is to screw down the missing battens there, the ones I've cut out, and just put those tiles back on. Now I may put a support block under there like that, under that joint when the time comes, when I've done the insulation job. But for now this is perfectly fine. Now some of you are going to say, I'm sure, I've destroyed my roof by cutting a hole in the felt. Well, maybe I should say that until about the 1930s in the UK there was no roofing felt. And I've had houses with no felt and they've been perfectly dry. So this is just insurance really. But that's okay with this overlap here. There won't be any problems, and there's an overlap there with the original felt. The last one's always a bit tricky under this lead here. Well, when I say that, the last one's always quite easy under the lead here. It's not sitting that well. Oh, that's better. That's better. I've got it now. And so the last thing to do is just to push the lead down. Hopefully I haven't cracked the lead. Bit of sunshine today, end of January, but it's almost a full month since you saw that last clip. I know the dimensions. I'm just laying this out with a piece of string on the floor. This is the Rockwool that I've bought, so it's 100mm wide. It's normally dropped in between leaves on a cavity wall, as far as I understand anyway. It was £45 money, UK, and I'm going to cut the insulation to suit before I go up there. I mean, it's not a particularly tall roof, but it's just a bit easier, I think, if I can cut it on the ground. I just know what I'm doing with it then. When it's cut and I'm up there, I'll probably use battens to hold it against that wall that I need to insulate. I think I need about a square metre, and this pack is 3.28 square metres. Where did the sun go? I don't think anybody else would bother doing this, but at least it puts off having to go up on the roof. And it entertains me. Now then, here, I know this doesn't extend this far. The roof's a 45-degree roof. I'll need a bit off that end, and I know that I need 400 off that end, so that's probably how that's going to go. And I know this dimension is 800 because it's 3 blocks high, 3 of those thermalite blocks high, which are 215 plus the mortar, This is far too scientific for this job, to be honest. The weather's gone quite overcast and the wind's really chilly, so I'm going to put this off for another day for the fitting, but at least I've got the shape that I want. Completely over-engineered, I understand, but it's just my indulgence. Oh, the sun's proper come out now. I've got no excuse for not doing it today. That's a shame. Never mind. I'm glad I numbered these. I know it's a bit comical, but it will make the job easier and quicker. Well, bit of a struggle, but it's all in. I've managed to put those spars on here to hold it up, so I screwed them in the bottom and I've wedged them at the top. So that bit, at least, is now done. So next we need to attend to this part, which is quite a big void in there. And we'll stuff some insulation in there. Well, I'm just closing up now. I've put some extra supports on the side of those joists, so when I fold the felt over, it'll rest on those instead of falling into the roof. Like that is what I mean. And then I'll put an extra felt layer on top of that too. Just the two laths to go on now, where the gaps are, and then just the tiles to go on to finish that off. Not a very pleasant job, that one, actually. Now when we get some cold weather, I'll get the thermal camera on it again and we'll see what the effect is. I mean, ironically, it's warm enough to do the job, but not cold enough to see the difference. Well, this is a good day to be checking insulation. It's about 2 degrees Celsius outside and it's sleeting. What's that, about 35 Fahrenheit? The toilet roll?
Yeah.
What about it?
Right there?
And there, yeah, okay, well it's the insulation up there that we need to look at, this up here, yeah?
Yeah.
Alright then.
Yeah.
So this section, I think I've stuffed it all full of insulation.
Yeah.
But if there's any that I've missed, we'll try it with a heat camera, thermal camera. If there's any that I've missed, I'm just going to put foam in it.
Yeah.
What do you think? Okay, let's have a look up here. Oh, well, it seems like we've pretty much got that one. Oops. What did I kick?
That?
Yeah, okay, well, that's a huge improvement. I think this area that you can see there, that's slightly like that, look, for some reason it's gone all, oh, because it's my hand. That's it. You see that there, that's bluer. I can't really get into that. But it looks like maybe there's a little bit here at the end. I might just get a little bit of foam in there. But otherwise, that's been very successful. Don't you think so?
No.
Yeah, well, really?
No.
That one?
No. That one.
That one? Do you think it's warm enough then now?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay, well, we'll just have to check it, won't we? We seem to have made quite an improvement there on the wall above the cupboards. You can see how it's a lot warmer in the centre, but it's still cold around the edges. And particularly that sloping triangle at the top there, there can't be any insulation at all behind the plasterboard. I think I'm probably going to get a ladder, go up there and then fill it with foam. Now I might be worried about stopping the airflow and ventilation in the roof space, but there are vents at the lower edges of the roof, so I think it'll be fine. And then finally this area, which I did first of all with the foam, and it seems to have made quite a difference. You can still see that cold stripe just at the junction of the slope and the upright, but otherwise I think that's quite an improvement as well. Well, that brings us to the end. I hope you found it useful.
Yeah.
Do you want to say goodbye to people? Go on then. Wave goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Again.
No, not again. We're done now. We're finished.